right, good morning everyone, and welcome back to another NETGEAR Insider webinar. I am your host, Sarah Moreno, and today we are going to talk about multi-gig. We've been having a lot of launches, and there's a lot of switches out there that our product line managers would like to share with you, and the power of this new generation of multi-gig Ethernet. So today we have Xavi, who is in Spain, and Laurent, another PLM, who is in France, joining us today. So welcome you two. And if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to ask them in the Q&A box, and we will get to those. Fill out the questions during the webinar, and we will get to them. And that's pretty much it. So take it away, you two.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Welcome, everybody. Here it's Xavi from Barcelona. And with me, it's Laurent. So, Laurent, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, good morning, where you are. This is Laurent Mazia speaking from the Paris office. Welcome.
Great, Laurent. So thanks everybody to join us in today's webinar. So we want to go through like the multi-gig story, but the reality is that honestly, it's not just multi-gig. We want to talk about what is beyond 1 gigabit per second. So that's gonna be like a little bit more deep in terms of the technology of multi-gig, but we want to really highlight about the more that beyond 1 gigabit per second. So saying that, I think that we should go and start for the webinar. So let's start. So what we're gonna see today first, we'll do like a beyond 1 gigabit introduction. So just a question for you, Laurent. When it was when we introduced the 10 gig switches?
So at NETGEAR, I guess your question, the NETGEAR went first with 10 gig in 2009. So technically speaking, 5 years after the 10 gig ratification by the IEEE in 2009.
Well, so it's been like a long time, 2009, we're 2017. And from your expertise, how many sports in terms of percentage are still 1 gig?
Oh, so I mean, if you look at the entire NETGEAR sales, I would say that 10 gig is probably less than 5%. I'm probably wrong. That's probably going to be between 3 and 5% of the port.
Well, that looks low, really. So today,
and especially when you know that by far NETGEAR is the very first seller, right, in terms of 10 gig ports in this market. We have almost 76% market share for all port shipments in 10 gig for switches below the $10,000 mark. So you're right, that's small, but on top of that, we have a pretty good market share.
Well, no, that's great news. Honestly, as we can see, like, yeah, we are the leaders, and even being the leaders, we can see that still like a long way to shift from gigabit to 10 gig. So we will talk about that, why like we want to go beyond this 1 gigabit. And the other question for you, Laurent, that I know that you are a fan of the multi-gigs because you were one of the first, we were one of the first to introduce a multi-gig switch, and that was in your honor. Like,
yeah. And maybe nobody remembers, but we were actually live almost 2 years ago with the 4200, and that's a fully managed switch called 4200, easy mount, and you know we did that in hand in hand with the NBASE Alliance at that time, well before all that was ratified as 802.3bz later by the IEEE. That's right.
Well, that's great news. So we will cover that. So we will do an intro and an update on the technology. And later on, we will cover the products that we announced. Like we announced 6 products last month, more or less. And yeah, we will also have use cases to look at and a Q&A. So we expect that you guys, you can participate on that one and ask us as many questions as you want. So saying that, I think that we are ready to go. So first thing is about the beyond 1 gigabit, and it's gonna be a question for all of you guys. What do you guys think that is your current bottleneck if you look in your network? So let's have a poll here and see like what you guys vote. Okay, we're getting some answers here, like it's quite good. We can see.
Hey, Xavier, can I vote myself?
Yeah, let's. You can do it, but yeah, I think that it will not influence much because we have a large audience. But yeah, let's see what you're gonna vote. I will vote too. So let's see what we get also. Come on, guys, I think that we still have like a few of you guys to vote. We got already 22 of you voting. So yeah, please just vote in any of these 4 sites so we can move forward. Just we will leave that one like for 1 minute more. And later on, we will share the results that we get. So have you already voted, Laurent?
Yeah, you know what? I can't vote. I'm probably because I'm part of the.
Yeah, it says that host and panelists.
You can't take my vote.
Well, that's gonna be like a fair in this case, like a fair poll, as we cannot vote. Okay, guys, just like 30 seconds left on that one. And okay, I think that we got like enough answers here. Yeah. And so we can share what the audience are thinking about what is their current bottlenecks. So what we can see is that, whoa, it's a tight fight, I will say, between storage and network, but storage is leading. That's a good part. But yeah, there are a few folks that they also think that it's CPU and memory. But that's great news. So I think that give us like, whoa, a surprise from my side to see like that, yeah, 37% of the audience thinks that the bottleneck is their network. Well, I hope that they are not running fast Ethernet or hubs.
That's right. But you know, storage can be network related too. So all in all, that's a good story, I believe, for today's discussion.
Yeah. Let's start. So in this discussion, in this case. Okay. Perfect. So what's the bottleneck? So we will go through like a little bit of the history in this case about the bottlenecks in the computer side. So yeah, first of all, like the first one that it used to be the biggest bottleneck in the past, it used to be the CPU. So do you remember, Laurent, these old days where you used to have this turbo button where you can boost your CPU?
So I know, Xavier, you find me like old already, but yeah, I must say I do remember a little bit in my young days in the 90s. But you know, to tell you the truth, I remember the 100% CPU problem. I barely remember the boost button though.
Yeah, I think that all of us already experienced this 100% CPU, specifically for some like softwares that they were like trying to get like all the resources. Yeah. So what do you think, Laurent? What was the next one? What do you think that we will see right now, like as the next bottleneck?
Well, I mean, after the for the operating system, the CPU was one. Maybe storage or hard drive maybe was the next one.
Let's see. So, well, you were close.
Oh,
but in 2008, like we were talking about memory. Memory was like the one of the issues here, and mainly like the size and the speed of the memory. And yeah, maybe you suffer one of those. I do. Your computer is low on memory.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes still the case though.
Yeah, because you work with a very big spreadsheets and stuff like that, no, Laurent?
That's right. That's right. But yeah, memory is a good one. You're right.
Yeah, it's but what we can see here is that, yeah, we already get over the 1 gigabit speeds like long time ago in this case. And the latest one, and that makes sense from our folks, like that they were targeting like storage or network as the main bottleneck. So the latest one, one of the latest ones was the storage in 2014. So why we can see like 3 types of drives in this area, and we put here the 1 gigabit per second. So what we can see, guys, is that, yeah, when we were like the all hard drive, when we were using the hard drive technology that's still in use, yeah, the 1 gigabit still good. If we have one drive, if we do like storage arrays and we have multiple drive, that could change. But if we only have one drive, yeah, that 1 gigabit is good enough. However, as soon as we move to the SSDs, we can see that already like the SSDs is almost 5 times faster than the 1 gigabit speed, the 1 gigabit network. And yeah, if we talk about NVMe, like this is really like going like really fast. So I mean, this is already like even almost like 4 or 5 times even faster than the current SSDs. So which drive do you have, Laurent, in your computer?
Oh, I'm afraid I only have a simple SSD as you do. I believe we have a policy at NETGEAR IT. So I'm afraid we don't have those NVMe fantastic 950s as of yet. But what is your point there then? It means that the 1 gig barrier is actually a huge bottleneck when you have a computer equipped with those new SSDs. I mean, that's tarnished news to me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my first point, honestly, is to try to get an NVMe as a in my laptop. That could be like the first one, to showing that and share it to our IT team. The second one, as you said, like, yeah, mainly like, yeah, we can see that that's a huge bottleneck. Like, yeah, we are investing money on these SSDs and having like 1 gigabit. When I do like a transfer file, I can see that I can reduce this transfer file like almost like by 5 times, and that's gonna be like helping sending when you have to share with me like these presentations and like 4K videos or big spreadsheets.
That's why I do huge PowerPoint slides. You're right. So there's always some confusion between bits and bytes, you know. And from my experience, we are networking guys, and we always talk about bits, megabits per second, or 1 gigabits per second bits. But we should take care, because actually we should divide those numbers by 8 in order to get those capital B bytes, right? That are used in storage world.
Exactly, that's the normal like conversation between the storage guy and the network guy, between the bytes and the bits, because they don't talk about bytes. When you talk about storage, it's all about IOP and IOPS, and and the bytes. And yeah, as a network guys, we love to talk about the bits, not about the bytes. Hey, you know, I think that it's bits always looks better, because it seems that you have more, like 1 gigabit per second. It's like, yeah, as you said, like 8 times less than 1,000 megabytes. So
yeah, good to know.
And so, okay, so now we cover 3. So the latest one is about the network. So currently, you guys, yeah, the main bottleneck that we're having is the network. And maybe you, Laurent, you have like a few comments on that one, like that you have seen like as like the network as a bottleneck. For example, like video, have you experienced like some areas where gigabit it's not that good?
Well, I mean, that's true. I mean, the thing is that I think it's safe to say that the 1 gig networks are quite saturated by now, because there is already many applications like cloud or like collaboration going on, and there's not much left, you know, globally. So that's true now that you see that the professional AV segment is trying to converge to IT. We see a lot of new AV technologies leveraging, H.264 encoders or decoders or MGPEG. But IT admins, they don't want that, right? They don't want video, big giant streams come and flood the network. So the gigabit itself is already, almost saturated in most cases. That's my experience now.
Yeah, no, good point. Yeah, you are true in this case, and also the other point that I would like to make is that, yeah, what we can see is that gigabit and you already cover it for the 10 gig. It's a technology that it's really mature. It's more like than 10 years old already, like that when it was certified. So we are talking like about using almost a 20 years old technology.
That's right. This is, the switches that are, on the market today are already the third or fourth generation. And, pricing is now very affordable for 10 gig when you think about it. So yeah, the next wave is probably going to be the, that road to the terabits mountains. But maybe you and I will be retired by that time.
We hope that, maybe. Yeah. And getting the 4K, the 8K, or even like larger streams on video, and yeah. Well, but yeah, so what we can see here, guys, is that you, like from the pooling perspective, we can see that, you guys, you were really close. Network and storage are the main bottlenecks. However, like even the network, you guys, another area that I want to talk and we want to share with you guys is that, yeah, even the peripherals are faster than 1 gig. So if we look like the USB, the latest standards of the Thunderbolts, everything is almost 10 gigabit per second, 10 gigs. So honestly, like for you, Laurent, like right now, do you have anything in your computer that's like slower than 1 gigabit?
I don't think so, because that new. I don't want to make any advertising for computers brands, but well, I mean, what we have in our current policy, comes with USB 3.0 as a minimum, and the latest phone, the latest smartphone I was given, is already equipped with those 3.1 kind of super fast type. I believe I have almost 10 gig out of my phone now, actually.
Even like the phone, it's faster than 1 gigabit per second.
That's right.
That's even better. Even like Wi-Fi, it's faster than 1 gigabit per second.
True. And that's a good point, though, because we know that multi-gig, today's topic, largely came from, wave 2 access points with wireless AC. But that's right.
Great. So let's move forward. So, okay, now we see that, yeah, gigabit, it's kind of like a speed, like that it makes sense. It made sense like 20 years ago, but now, yeah, we can see that it's totally obsolete in terms of like the other peripherals and everything that it's surrounding, like the network and the computer side. Everything is faster than this 1 gigabit. So we really need to go over this 1 gigabit, no question about it. So what about multi-gig? For you, Laurent, why we are not using like 10 gigabit?
Oh, so that's a good question. And there's still a lot of confusion about this. So let me tell you, that's because 10 gig requires good cabling. Cat6A as a minimum to go over the 328 feet, the 100 meters, as we say in Europe. And Cat6A is not very prevalent yet. You have the vast majority of the installed base running Cat5e or even Cat6, legacy Cat6 cables. And that's a problem, because you may have 10 gig with your cables for your racks, in the server rooms, and that's okay, but for short ones. But you cannot really have 10 gig propagating through the existing wiring. That's the main problem.
Yeah, and it's easier like to like rewire an office. What do you think? For you, Laurent, have you ever tried?
I mean, we are not specialists at NETGEAR, but we know, because customers explain that the rewiring an entire building can be very expensive. Actually, the price per node, the price per outlet is 10 times in average the price of any given switch.
Oh yeah, honestly, I have to admit, I only tried once, and it was at home. And yeah, like I couldn't even do it. Like my wife, like rewire something or putting a wire is kind of like a no way. Like you don't gonna, you are not gonna be able to do it. So yeah, it's it's something really costly. We know, like that's what we like. Everybody knows that in terms of rewiring something, it's costly, and it's also like a headache because you have to go like people doing some labor there, like moving like the furniture and everything. So yeah, it's a mess. So yeah, you don't want to go over that path.
Especially when about service interruption and all that caused by a possible rewiring. So that was the foundation, if I can speak like that, for the more than 1 gig, the greater 1 gig efforts in this industry in the last couple of years. And the NBAST thing at the Alliance first came from that, because it was not possible to go beyond 1 gig for access points, for instance, over Cat5e cables. And Cat5e cables in the US, that's almost 90% of the installed base.
Yeah, no, that's right. It's 90%. It's huge, and yeah, and you want to get the best of these cables, and still like they look good. So let's see how much we can get about these good cables, these Cat5e cables that we have around. So here, what we can see is the solution is this multi-gig capable technology that allows us to get the best of our cables. And so okay, we cannot get 10 gig on the Cat5e, but what we can see is that we can get 5 gig and 2.5 gig and 1 gig. So we can get 5 times faster than 1 gigabit speed. That's what we saw, like it's more or less the bottleneck in the SSD drive. So we are gonna get like around this 5 gig and getting this multiplier by 5 dedicated speed. We will be able to run well, like video over, like we will have a much better throughput. So what do you think, like Laurent, 5 gig will be good enough for your applications?
I think so. I mean, if you really think about it, actually, multi-gig, it's going to turn Cat5e on steroids, right? Because from the current maximum of 1 gigabit speed, so don't forget that it's bi-directional, so it's 1 gig east-west or north-south, and 1 gig in the other direction. All of a sudden, full duplex, we are going to multiply that by 5. So with multi-gig technology, we can make the most of our existing Cat5e cabling at all our customers. And that's, to me, the real stunning news here.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. And what do you think, Laurent? Can we have, like, as we can see, like 10 gig, 5 gig, 2.5 gig, 1 gig, 100 meter? What does it mean? That is a speedometer?
Well, I mean, this is the beauty of that new wave of networking products. But that's not new, right? We all remember when we transitioned from 10 base T to 100 base T, that was backward compatible, right? And we transitioned from 100 base T to 1 gig, right? To 1 gig base T, and 1 gig base T was backward compatible with fast Ethernet and 10 meg, and so on and so on. Today, 10 gig base T, for instance, for copper, because we talk about copper wiring here, 10 gig was backward compatible with 1 gig most of the time, and but that was nothing in between, right? That was either 10 or 1. And now the thing is that with NBAST/IEEE 802.3 new standards, which is actually ratified, that's robust, that's rock solid. We have a new standard for multi-gig. Now, in between 10 gig and 1 gig, we have 2.5 and 5. So we can actually speak of 5 speed on many ports now, allowing for, really making the most of the installed wiring.
Yeah, I really like the 5-speed. Like that looks like a car. Like you can have like multiple gears. Like yeah, and you can just like get the maximum benefit of this cabling and getting the top speed whenever you need. That sounds good. So let's move forward and let's talk about a little bit about the technology. So I will let this slide for you, Laurent, because you are like the mastermind in terms of this path to the terabytes or to the, like, I think that we will be retired around this one. Oh, 2020, maybe later on. We will be in these mountains. Like,
yeah,
and
but I know that my retirement is your favorite joke. I know. So I will not probably there around, when we will reach those 10 terabits mountains. I'm sorry to say, but well, for now, obviously, this is a well-known chart, right? This is coming straight from the Ethernet Alliance. That all the auditors need to know that, this is a small world. Before the IEEE big organization, ratifying those standards with IEEE standards, with the RFCs, you have a lot of work, across the industry and all networking vendors, including NETGEAR. We work with the Ethernet Alliance, the NBAST Alliance, all together so that we can push for new standards that are interoperable. And that's the key. So all these come from the Ethernet Alliance. That's the official Ethernet roadmap from the Ethernet Alliance. They published it last year, actually. And you can see that 1 gig, was already delivered as a proposal to the IEEE by the Ethernet Alliance back in '98. That's crazy, '98. So 2 years before Windows 2000, right? So and then the immediately after that, I must say, the industry worked towards 10 gig, right? And that's fairly new. The Ethernet Alliance, hands by hands with the NBAST Alliance, another set of a non-profit organization with the same vendors pushing for something else. We all work towards 2.5 and 5 gig, and that's really a good news, because again, even if we know that in data centers, in large scale cloud operations for big servers, 40 gig is already there for a long time. 25 gig will come next for top of rack, and so on and so on and so on. In between 1 gig and 10 gig, for Mr. Everybody in a school, in a K-12 a campus, a hospital, or any kind of network, 2.5 gig and 5 gig is the real new thing. And as you just said, we introduced already quite a lot of good cost-effective networking products. For that, we'll see that. And on the left-hand side, that's all good information we got out of these alliance in terms of installed base. But we covered that already. Most of the installed base in North America is not capable of 10 gig. So now 1 gig, 2.5 gig, and 5 gig, it's a great news. And also, the last piece on this slide tells that the big analysts, like Del Oro, they communicated over that already, saying that maybe, in the next couple of years, multi-gig will represent a fair share of the global Ethernet port shipments, which is another good news, because we said that today 10 gig is so small in terms of market share, right? Because most of this market is 1 gig, so that is probably coming to an end.
Yeah, well, when you said like 98, I was thinking where I was at 98. I think that I was still using floppy disks, like floppy drives on the computer. So yeah, just that looks all like when we talk about 98, 2002.
Well, that's 3 years after Windows 95, though.
Yeah, exactly. I think that, yeah, it's still like Nokia was the main phone vendor at that time, even like, yeah. So yeah, it's time to move forward, I think, to these neo speeds. It's like, yeah, it's already been there like for a while, and now everything is faster. And the best news, I think, that even it's the price points that we are getting for this 10 gig multi-gig technology. It's just like going really affordable to be able like as a mainstream. So let's move forward a little bit more in terms of the technology. Just let's look into the cabling side. So yeah, you guys, you're gonna see like that we love the history here. We have like Cat 1, Cat 2. I don't know. Have you ever seen any of these Cat 1, Cat 2s, or Cat 3 or Cat 4, Laurent?
Oh yes, I mean I know you always say I'm old. I did, I did, and I was already in that world, and you don't even list the coax cables and all these previous lines that we used to have. But Cat 3 and Cat 5 were fast actually, because we remember that Cat 5 and Cat 5 really became prevalent on the market at the end of in the middle of the 90s. So, but yes, to answer your question, I was there.
Wow, great. Yeah, I still remember like doing some laps with the coax cable. So I still remember one of those was a kind of a nightmare working with the tabs and the coax. Like it was an entire process. Rewired coax was even harder than rewired Ethernet cable. So,
right.
So what we can see here, guys, is that, yeah, we can see that from Cat 5e and beyond, Cat 6, Cat 6a, and Cat 7, all of them, they support multi-gig. And what you guys are going to see is the bandwidth. So bandwidth is in terms of the spectrum, is how good is the cable. It's like an indicative to let us know like how much we can get from this cable. This Cat 5e get us like 100 megahertz. But Cat 6a, Cat 6, and it's a good improvement, but Cat 6a, it's really like a big jump. It's giving us 500 megahertz. So it means that the theoretical speed you're gonna see, we will be able to achieve like maybe this 25 gigabit or even beyond with these cables. And Cat 7, it's like we haven't seen like in many installations due to the complexity and the thickness of the cables, because they are not UTP anymore. They are SCTP and STP. So as you can see, that's the difference. If we zoom in a cable, we can see that the UTP and the STP cables are different because they have these shielded areas to avoid interference between cables. That becomes a problem when we are talking about like higher transfer speeds. So the recommendation is that, yeah, we see that Cat 5e is what we want to get, like the best of the existing cable that we are using. But you have to also be aware that the different categories of the cables that are available right now, Cat 6a or Cat 7 and Cat 6. So I think that right now, if I should deploy any wired, I would recommend Cat 6a. What do you think, Laurent? What's your opinion on this?
Well, I mean, so far in the last couple of years, Cat 6 was, always the most cost-effective wiring. And for many customers, that was good enough, because to be frank, we can't say in the previous years that we got any plans whatsoever for, propagating 10 gig to the end user, right? After gigabit to the desktop, we never really talked about 10 gig to the desktop. That's not true. So Cat 6 was the best deal over the years. And now, I mean, most buildings are equipped, right? But for new buildings, starting now, we can see that Cat 6a is probably, the best new price point, because Cat 6a really dropped a lot and is really affordable now. And you're right, Cat 7 is still, on the high end side of the market today.
Yeah, thanks, Laurent. Yeah, totally agree. And the other thing that we introduced in this multi-gig technology, it's about automatic downshift. So that's like a photo. Maybe this is Paris. I don't know. It's like snowing there, or still. What's the weather there?
Oh no, the weather is great. Actually, it's snowing in Utah. I was, talking with Utah earlier today. It's full of snow, but in Paris, it's not so bad. But we do have a lot of cameras though.
So you cannot go full speed on the Paris roads.
That's right.
Okay, so yeah, other like could be weather-wise, or could be like maybe some kind of like a police like radar-wise that you need to adjust your speed. But the network now becomes similar to that. So with the multi-gig, we introduced something that's a downshift. So depending on the cabling conditions, it will go through the 10 gig to the 5 gig or to the 2.5 gig or 1 gig. So as we said, like it could be like some noise between the cables, could be like different distances, as we can see here. For example, the 10 gig, it's supported 100 meters when it's Cat6a, but if it's only Cat6, it's 55 meters. So, and that depends on this kind of noise floor and the quality of the cable. So there are like different aspects that we don't have any control on it. So the downshift is really great. We are really used to this technology on Wi-Fi. You guys know it, like you have a Wi-Fi connection, and we'll say like when it's you have a good coverage and there is no much noise around, you get like the highest speed that you can think about it. But as soon as you move forward and you start getting like less coverage and less signal, and you get more noise around it, you get like a lower speed connection. So here we introduce that one, not just in the negotiation phase, also like when you are transmitting around these cables.
So again, that's great, because it seems quite normal, right? Because, well, we are used to that with 10 gig, for instance. We know that if we connect on the server or Hyper-V machine, we have a 10 gig link, but if something goes wrong, maybe the cabling is no good, or maybe we have some kind of a crosstalk in between, those big trunks, the 10 gig will revert to 1 gig. That's what we experience, and that's what makes part of 10 gig base T previous standard. Now, the fantastic thing here is that it is happening by default, even with multi-gig in between. So that's far better than shifting back to 1 gig. Now, in case of a bad resonance or alien crosstalk or wiring issue, instead of reverting back to 1 gig, the 10 gig multi-gig ports, the 5-speed ports, will be able to try to establish the connection to 5 gig first, which is great news.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Getting this like the speed that you need when you need. That's the good one. So let's move forward on this area. Let's move forward to the products that we have to cover this multi-gig portfolio. So we already announced right now 7 products. We have 7 products on this multi-gig area, and we will like go deeper right now on the different products that we have. So here what you can see, it's a broad picture about all the products that support 10 gig and multi-gig. And as you can see, there are like 7 of those, and with different types of management, from the managed, the basic ones, till to the fully managed, like where you can get like all the features that you can imagine on the switch. We have like PoE or non-PoE products. So we will go now a little bit deeper into that products, but maybe you, Laurent, you want to talk a little bit about the first one, about the M4200.
Yeah, so the 4200 on the right-hand side was, the very first NETGEAR attempt with the N-based Alliance, and we were very proud of it. At that time, we still are, because it's a good tool for wireless deployments, so that's a typical switch for wireless AC, and there's 8 ports of 2.5 gig, basically, 8 ports capable of 2.5 gig for those Wave 2 access points, and we have 2 10 gig uplinks, and if you count 2.5 times 8, that's 20. So with 10 gig, with 20 gig, 2 10 gig uplinks to the core, we are line rate between the wireless access layer as an aggregation switch. So the 4200 was kind of dedicated to a high-end Wave 2 AC deployments. Now we are going to cover that. We basically have three families of switches. First, the 10 gig switches that can revert to 5 gig and 2.5 gig. So they are basically 10 gig switches with multi-gig Ethernet capability added, right? Second, we have multi-gig access ports. So we have switches with 1 gig, 2.5 gig, and or 5 gig access ports ready to go with 10 gig uplinks. So that's another group of applications and use case, more for multi-gig devices, such as those laptops with fancy SSDs or new hard drives. And then we have those very cost-effective 1 gig switches, so 1 gigabit switches with 5 or 8 ports, and 10 gig uplinks, but instead of only being 10 gig, we have 10 gig multi-speed with multi-gig capability. So 2.5 gig switches with 10 gig uplinks, full 10 gig switches capable of multi-gig, and cost-effective, very cost-effective 1 gig switches with 10 gig uplinks, also capable of multi-gig, so that if I can't profit from 10 gig because I don't have the wiring for that, at least I can have a very capable aggregation with 2.5 or 5 gig. So that's 3 different group of use cases, and I must say, you and I, Xavier, we did a pretty good job there.
Yeah, there are like a lot. So for you guys, you can choose whether you want, like, yeah, multiple ports, multiple management, PoE, non-PoE. So yeah, you guys, now you're ready to build these fastest networks with the 10 gig and multi-gig, and don't forget the really affordable price. So let's start, let's go a little bit deeper into these new ones, Laurent, in your new MS510TX and TXPP, that they look great.
Yeah, thank you, Javi. So the multi-gig MS510TX family, so it's one of these 3 groups of applications or use case. So here we have let's say a multi-speed switch. It's 8 ports capable of 1 gig or multi-gig, 2.5 gig or 5 gig. So on the left-hand side, we have access ports capable of 1 gig and beyond, 2.5 and 5 gig. And on the other side, we have the uplinks. And the uplinks can be good for local server, because your switch can be a small, unique, big switch, right? Like a collapsed core switch in a very small network. But also, this switch can be hooked to the backbone and go 10 gig aggregation to the core. So that's a very capable aggregation switch on that side, because we have those access ports, multi-gig or not, and 10 gig uplinks. So this is a smart managed pro switch offering. So we target advanced work groups or small and medium customers with them, because we have a fully featured software with a lot of access control for traffic prioritization. We have advanced QoS, we have routing, IPv4 and IPv6. So that's the latest and greatest smart managed switch feature set. But again, this group is for customers with access port needs and 10 gig uplinks.
Well, they look amazing. Yeah, also like they are. The form factor, it's smaller than the normal like rack mount, so they will fit like almost anywhere. No, Laurent?
Yeah. So the thing is that the non-PoE switch is very silent because it's fanless. So the internal PSU is on the back, and you can actually rack mount these, no problem. We have a rack mount kit. But also on the desk or on a shelf, it's very quiet, right? It's absolutely fanless. The second one, the PoE, it's always a challenge, to go fanless, because you have a lot of heat out of those PoE ports. So we do have a fan, but this is a very intelligent one. So the sensors technology made a lot of progress. So this switch is kind of whisper quiet. When you operate at 25 degrees Celsius, full power across all PoE ports, you're largely under the 35 dB. So it means that it's pretty equivalent to a typical desktop noise. So the form factor is pretty good, because it's as good in the rack or outside.
Wow, no, that's amazing. So moving forward, like we are gonna have a quick look also into the unmanaged ones, the XS505M, XS508M. So these are like all ports go beyond 1 gigabit per second. The 5 one, the XS505M, it comes with 4 ports. All of them, they can run 1 gig, 2.5 gig, 100 meg, 1 gig, 2.5 gig, 5 gig, and 10 gig. So it's multi-speed on these 4 ports and the 4 Ethernet ports. And into the fiber, you have also like an SFP plus to run like a fiber connection. So you know that 10 gig sometimes can be like it's a world that it will be for us dominated by copper, but still there are some applications where you are gonna need to use fiber, like some storage devices and some areas where you're gonna see like fiber on it. So this switch gives you the versatility to be able to use it in a copper or fiber environment. Same thing on the XS508M, 8 ports. So the first 7 ports are the multi-speed ones, and the latest one is a combo port. It's copper and fiber that runs in the 10 gig and the 1 gig speeds. So again, like as Laurent said, these are like small form factor switches. The 10 gig switches used to be like really big, almost all of them. So these are the first small form factor 10 gig switches that you can, and they are whisper quiet also using this latest technology with the active fan. So you can use it in your office and get this higher speed to your, even like, yeah, to your computer right now, as we sell, like right now the 10 gig technology and the multi-gig technology is getting really affordable. The price that we are seeing for NECs are dropping from the $300, $400 to the $100 range. So now it's getting like affordable for any SMB too. So, and the other ones, the ones to complement all this product portfolio, it's the GS110MX, GS110EMX. So the 110MX is unmanaged, and the 110EMX is Smart Manage Plus. So what is the Smart Manage Plus? So it's the basic switch in terms of the web configuration. So you can configure it by web, but it has the VLANs and the QoS, and it has link aggregation. However, like if you want more advanced settings, you should go for the Smart Manage Pro, like the ones, the MS510TX and TXPP. Here, like what is good for these switches, it's great. They are great switches because we're able to introduce really affordable price points into the market with the 8-port and 2 10 gig multi-gig ports, so the 8-port gigabit and 2-port 10 gig multi-gig. The other problem that we haven't talked about today, it's even worse about the network, because normally we have 8-port gigabit and we link this 8-port gigabit to another switch using gigabit. So we are getting not only like the computer as a bottleneck, our uplink is it's already like a bottleneck. And here maybe, yeah, you, Laurent, you have a lot of information about oversubscription. Have you seen like what you can share with us about the oversubscription that you have seen in the last years?
So you're spot on, you're spot on. So I can tell you, when I started personally in this industry, maybe 25 years ago, you know, the Cisco school, right? I mean, those big training classes and all that were, I mean, explaining that, you know, 25 to 1, 20 to 1, 22 to 1, 25 to 1 was acceptable over subscription in a typical large campus network. Right? So that's crazy. That sounds like crazy 20 years after that, because now, well, I mean, if you don't have any 10 gig link or capable aggregation, it's criminal, you know. So we are going to talk about these in the few application pictures we have, but that's a good point.
Let's move forward into these use cases. So you, Laurent, you can cover about a little bit more about these use cases.
Oh, thank you, Gabby. So this one is actually, you know, showing the two MS510 products. So you can see that's the North America average street pricing that we can observe right now, you know, at DMRs or e-com. So those switches are very affordable, you know, as a typical Smart Managed Pro switch. And as you can see here, the use case is rather simple. We have a small and medium network, and maybe that's a branch, that's a subsidiary, and then we have this unique switch as the do-it-all. And we today can use such a switch with 8 ports running at 1 gig, because we only have desktops and maybe access points or other Ethernet devices running 1 gig. But if we want, at least as a future-proof thing, but also right now, if I have a multi-gig device, such as a latest generation NAS server or a workstations, I will then be able to hook those new multi-gig devices to the last 4 ports that are capable of 2.5 or 5 gig. So now, back to the oversubscription. See on the right-hand side, I'm going to use the 10 gig uplinks either to go back in aggregation to my core or to go to my server, for instance. And how do you calculate oversubscription? That's how much line rate each single host or each single device can be with that resource. And in that case, just imagine I'm running an application on that 10 gig server with a 10 gig uplink to that server, I have 10 gigabit of bandwidth available for maybe 8 here, 8 1 gig devices. So such an installation is absolutely line rate. You don't have any other subscription. You have a line rate installation, one-to-one line rate installation. So that's why such new generation of desktop switches for SMBs, that's a fairly good news.
Well, yeah, that looks amazing. Like, yeah, being able to have your storage with the SSD drive and being able to send all this traffic without having this oversubscription. Yeah, as we saw, like with 1 gigabit, it's already like a bottleneck. If you have 8 computers trying to get to the server using 1 gigabit, that looks really bad. And what we have here, Laurent, this is more like
so that's another example. And keep me honest, we could use the GS110 new family here as well. We just want to show that such a new generation switch can be used with 1 gig devices, right? Because even if in a typical IP surveillance installation, if you have cameras, maybe they are even, they are 1 gig and they might not migrate to multi-gig anytime soon. But you have a capable switch with 10 gig uplinks. And that's the key, because 10 gig uplinks, 10 gigabit uplinks to the core here, and you can have either 1 or 2. So the second can be a redundant link, right, to your core, especially good if you have a chassis or a stack of switches with redundant LACP that is distributed across the core. You can have a robust and unstoppable operation. With those 10 gig uplinks, you then allow for perfect non-blocking operation at your cameras. And moving forward, even if the cameras might not migrate to 10 gig anytime soon, we know that the latest generation of IP surveillance cameras, if you want to have, facial recognition, or if you want to be able to capture, big train stations, people, long file, you need higher density, so the bandwidth go up. And if the bandwidth goes up, then you need more in terms of aggregation. So the topic today was all about multi-gig. I think that it's another correct way of looking at this multi-gig trend is really understand that 10 gig uplinks is the key here, because you want to have a better job on the oversubscription side of things for the aggregation for your 1 gig devices as well.
Oh yeah, Laurent, yeah, I was surprised the other day when I was looking like what were the new devices, this new ecosystem that we can see like that's growing and growing in terms of clients, that we have computers, we have motherboards, we have wireless access points, we have storage, we have a lot of devices that support multi-gig. But it was a big surprise for me to see like a camera, an IP camera that was multi-gig, and you were right, it was a line cam. It was for industrial application where you see a lot of traffic. So you're right, when you want like a high traffic area, if you want to put like a camera in a high traffic area, you really need to use this multi-gig technology. Otherwise, will not be good enough. And that's another use case for the multi-gig switches.
Yeah, thank you for bringing this up. So, that's actually the last one, but not the least, because, well, it's all started there, right? We must be all ready for multi-gig access points, because it's coming. Wave 2 access points move more than 1 gigabit of wireless throughput now. So the thing is that even for a AC deployment with, maybe wireless AC first or second generation that does not require multi-gig as of yet, that's going to be coming, right? So the next access points will ship with 2.5 gigs. So as a future-proofness requirement, I would largely advise for those new generation of switches with 10 gig uplinks, so that you are ready for multi-gig operation next with Wave 2 AC. But today, with the basically 1 gigabit per second access points, investing into those switches with 10 gig uplinks, you then get line rate installation for your current generation of wireless AP. And frankly, the 20-to-1 old Cisco class is over, right? Now, clients and applications really require the full bandwidth. So aggregating a bunch of wireless AC access points running 1 gig without 10 gig uplink, that's kind of criminal these days.
Oh yeah, exactly. Because even like Wi-Fi, we have to be aware that it's a shared technology. That here we have multiple clients connected to one access point. So if we are like getting a bottleneck on our uplink, it means that these guys are gonna have to wait first to get the Wi-Fi access because it's shared, and later on wait till get the uplink access. That will be like a double toll to get like what they want. That's not good.
Absolutely. So I think we are coming to an end now for this presentation. Maybe it's time to oh gosh, tell us about this, Xavi. What is that?
Yeah, it's just the latest use case. Just put a little bit all together in this case. So what we want to bring in this is what it could be like a new SMB network. We can put like access switches, the GS110s or the MS switches, but we also have the core switch. So we just want to like go a little bit deeper in this story about like, yeah, guys, if we have 8-port gigabit, we cannot go with a gigabit uplink. We need to go to this 10 gig really uplinks and get into like a core switch that's a 10 gig switch. So that instead of having like all gigabit as we used to have in the past, we really need to move to this picture of access switches with the 10 gig and multi-gig uplinks and the core switch with the 10, like a core switch that's really fast. And here we haven't go to like all the switches that we have in the 10 gig space, but we just saw like 2 right now, the XS505M, XS508M, that's the latest ones in Unmanaged. But we have like in Plus, we have in Smart, we have in Pro. How many 10 gig switches, fully 10 gig switches do we have, Laurent, right now?
Oh, I think we have more than 10. It's actually 12 switches as I speak. But Xavi, so you do all that with ultra low, cost-effective, unmanaged switches now. That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. All this configuration, these ones, GS110MX, price point it's $199, so below $200. And the XS505M, it's an entry point at $400, and the 8-port is $600. So you can build an entire network, like for an SMB, for less than $1,000, you get everything. You get all the 10 gig and the multi-gig, and you can mix, as we said, like with Laurent, the MS 510 if you need PoE, and we have other 10 gig switches. So like, don't forget that this is really real. This is really affordable. Don't let your network be the bottleneck, because there is no reason about it in terms of pricing or in terms of technology. Even the NIC price, as I said, it's below $100 right now. So no excuses that now the network is below 1 gigabit. Just please go beyond that speed.
Absolutely. And usually we always said that 10 gig big barrier for the SMBs, was the price per port. We said that, but it's over. Now we can build a line rate network for almost, the same price as 1 gig a couple years ago. That's amazing, amazing. So Xavi, congratulations for that.
Oh, congratulations to you, Laurent. So I think that we have a few questions that, let's, we talk a lot. So I think that now it's time for our audience to share their thoughts with us.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Yes, that was very entertaining. You guys are great. And it was also very informative. We do have a question from Kevin. He's wondering what the bandwidth of the backplane of the MS510TX series switch is.
Oh, so I let me take that. So would you believe 1 second that we would put together a switch with a blocking fabric? So I'm afraid that, it's not just possible anymore in this industry. You have some very bad guys in China or Taiwan delivering switches that are not line rate, but at NETGEAR, as soon as you see a switch with this port count, 1 gig, 10 gig, you have a line rate fabric. So to answer your question, we have a 78 gig of bandwidth on this fabric for that switch, allowing for full duplex operation of 2 10 gig ports plus 2 5 gig ports plus 2 2.5 gig ports plus 4 1 gig. So you take all these maximum speeds, multiply by 2, that's the minimum fabric that NETGEAR will provision in the chipset. So all these switches are perfectly line rate. That's true for the MS510, but that's also true for all of the switches you saw on the chart, including Xavi's latest unmanaged new products.
Awesome. Okay. Well, guys, you guys had so much fun. So I had fun listening to you too, and I hope the audience did as well. We are gonna send out a follow-up email, so the recording of this presentation and the slides will be in that email. So if you're joining us today, look out for that. That will be going out. And so don't worry, you will have all of this. And somebody else is asking, are there any cost and performance statistics on the Gigabit Ethernet versus multi-gig?
Xavier, do you want to take that one?
Sorry, what was the question?
Don't worry, I can take it. I can take it. We are in a hurry now. So there is no cost. There is no penalty of any sort. So the question was, you know, what's behind? What is the trick here? Is there any hidden bad things? So everything we said about NBASE-T Alliance preparation, that's non-profit consortium, and then the IEEE ratification, including the backshift that now is in common denominator between NBASE-T and IEEE 802.3bz is true. So you don't have any cost, you don't have any hidden bad thing running 1 gig over multi-gig or vice versa. So your wiring Cat5e is already perfectly capable of running 2.5 gig and 5 gig full speed, full duplex if your wiring runs 1 gig today.
Yeah, exactly right. It's trying to squeeze as much as we can about this bandwidth that we saw in the past. So 1 gig, like Cat5e are capable of handling this higher speed. But I can see like we have more questions in our Q&A. Do you want to cover this one, Sarah?
Yeah, we'll cover one more, and then the rest, I do see them, so I will take your questions and get some answers, and I will email you guys personally. So let's take Dave's. He's asking, do you have any multi-gig network adapters available?
Dave, we don't. I will take that one. Dave, we don't have like networks from NIC adapters for NETGEAR because we don't manufacture any more NIC adapters. However, in the industry, you can find like a bunch of 10 gig multi-gig network adapters. As I said, like there are like a few brands that they already have these NICs available, and the price points are below the $100 right now, some of them. So I don't like, I know like some from Asus, Gigabyte, I know that they are gonna launch few. Intel, I am sure gonna be close to. So I don't know, like you, Laurent, do you know any other NICs that we
Yeah, so you have a lot of vendors today on the marketplace. So you have two kinds of Ethernet NICs, right? You have those 10 gig capable NICs that also now come with multi-gig. So that's the case with Intel and all the high-end, or I would call them data center class of adapters. And then you have the smaller adapters coming with multi-gig, you know, so more than 1 gig with 2.5 and 5 gigs. So we can see a lot of robust Aquantia-based NICs on the market today. So it's coming. And you also have for end users and, you know, gamers, some Asus products, you talked about that. So next step would be, you know, the workstations and the servers and the computers, you know, shipping directly with the multi-gig on board. We know that the latest iMac Pro will ship next month, actually, with multi-gig and 10 gig on board, and that's only the beginning.
Well,
yeah, wow. Okay. Well, like I said, with the other questions, I will look at those and I will definitely we will get your questions answered. But we do want to respect your time. So it is now 12 p.m. on the Pacific Standard Time. So thank you everyone for joining. And thank you, Laurent and Xavi. This was a great webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.